Hey heroes, welcome back to the Amateur Otaku Podcast. I'm your host, Star and Mike. Joining me always is the Mad Doc himself, Isaac. We're here to talk about My Hero Academia, Chapter 330. If you are not caught up on the My Hero Academia manga, we advise that you just step away from this episode, enjoy our anime discussions, or get caught up because the manga has been fire. Isaac, when we were last on here, we were talking about Star and Stripe and Tomura Shigaraki. That confrontation has reared its head here in this last chapter. What are your thoughts on how things are going so far?
Well, like we talked about in our last episode, I I just hope that she doesn't become. Is it fridged? What's the call?
Yeah, you don't want her to get
The
fridged.
trope. Yeah, because one, it would just be some eye rolling if she's just there because he wants to give all for one new power, and two, it would be interesting to see some more interaction between her and All Might, similar to how it would be to see interaction between him and Lady Nagant.
Yeah. So this chapter is called Me and Myself, which I think is interesting. We also get more info with Star and Stripe and everything that relates with All Might, which
They
we were
also
kind of I'm sorry.
they made a movie canon.
Yes, they made the movie canon, which is interesting. So last episode we were kind of freaking out a little bit because how does All Might have an apprentice this strong and he didn't give her one for all? A little clarity by Horikoshi in this chapter. We learned that she admires All Might and looks up to him. Not that they quite have, a relationship. All Might not really know who she is. He's probably met her once or twice. But yeah, she's a little girl that was seen in the first movie, My Hero Academia: Two Heroes. This was the weirdest way to make those movies canon. You think we would have had Nine or Melissa or David Shields show up, but instead we
Yeah,
have random civilian that nobody remembered.
it was a nice touch, at least.
Yeah, I respect it because it just shows the impact All Might had on everybody worldwide. Like he probably doesn't even remember this interaction at all, but he inspired the number one hero in the United States, which is just pretty freaking cool. This was an action heavy chapter, so there's some really great artwork going on here. This is just again the battle continuing from chapter 329, excuse me. Um, this is the first time we've really seen Shigaraki since the war arc. And I want you to answer this question for me. What do you think is going to happen with Tomura? Um, and I want you guys in the comments too, if you're listening, to give us your thoughts because he doesn't really seem like himself. He's kind of a mix of All for One and Tomura Shigaraki. And even at the end of the chapter, we flash back to his house where it all started, right? Where it all began.
Yeah.
His psyche's being slowly taken over by All for One and everything. It's just really strange. It's way less Orochimaru and Sasuke, and it's kind of becoming its own thing. The merger of the two. So what are your thoughts on how that's going?
Honestly, if this goes as they try to indicate with this chapter, I don't think Deku is gonna be able to save him. If I'm being completely honest, at the bare minimum, he gets control of his own body again, and maybe even kills himself just to end All for One at best.
Yeah, it's interesting how it's this inner conflict with Tomura, and it's just kind of creepy and disturbing how All for One has been manipulating Tenko Shimura this entire time. Um, in the psychological warfare that's happening, like it's interesting, especially when we like go inside of Shigaraki's head and you see the vestige of All for One, and it directly contrasts Deku and the vestiges of One for All, in the sense that the vestiges for One for All, they're very supportive of Deku and welcoming, and they're just trying to teach him how to use their quirks to make him stronger. All for One is the exact opposite, and I think it's interesting, again, how these two mirror each other, and how All for One is trying to take over Tomura. The One for All vestiges aren't doing that with Midoriya, and so it's really interesting how they're kind of again juxtaposed to one another. And you're right; it's probably going to lead Tenko down to a really dark path here, darker than he's already on, right? In
Yeah,
the sense that Deku probably can't save him. Like the best he can do is sacrifice himself. That's the only way he can be saved. If he starts to lose this battle with All for One.
yeah, because if he is so close to getting that body, I just I hate saying this, but unless they do a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and plot convenience out the ass about how there is a machine that can remove him from him out of nowhere, I don't see how they save him with the exception of taking All for One down, or maybe Shigaraki gets able to sacrifice himself, going on out on his own terms.
Maybe. For those of you guys listening, Isaac and Brandon reviewed JoJo's Bizarre Adventure season 1, and Isaac definitely had some thoughts on that one. So be sure to check that out once you're done with the My Hero discussion, just to get more info on that one. Um,
Small spoilers. This is not my entire thought, but one of the points we both of us agree on is that it's plot convenience up the ass, but that's a different scenario.
you know what else is plot convenience?
I don't know.
Tomura and All for One not being affected by Star and Stripes quirk. So we're gonna get to that in
Yeah.
a second. That was insane, but we learned what Star and Stripe, what her quirk is. It's a quirk called New Order, and I've got it in my notes here just to make sure I'm describing it accurately. New Order. After touching a target, she can call out the target's name and assign a new rule to it. So she touches the air in a panel, and the air dissipates at her command, taking all the oxygen away from all for Shigaraki, which is what we're going to dub them from here on out until we figure out what's going on there. Is this the most powerful quirk in all of My Hero Academia?
Yeah. Yeah. Without a single doubt.
You know, like we thought All for One and One for All were these major, magnificent quirks. This is just pure magic at this point, Isaac. My jaw hit the floor reading this. Like, what the heck is this power?
I mean, you can argue that All for One is at his power of stealing abilities might, for argument, might be a bit more powerful in that regard, that he can absorb and get other powers. But in but that's the only one that you can use an argument for, if you ask me.
Here's the thing with All for One, though. His power is only good at stealing powers. If you look at his base power, he doesn't really have one. Like, all the power he has is coming from what he's taken from other people. Whereas Star and Stripe, the base power is pure magic. And we are reaching Susanoo levels of Naruto Shippuden right now.
Uh, I wouldn't go that far, but it's close.
I mean, she even had a rule where she touches Shigaraki, and let me pull up the panel here. She says if Tomura Shigaraki moves at all, his heart will stop. And the only reason this doesn't work is because he's neither Shigaraki nor All for One. He's something new entirely, which is plot convenience out the ass.
They made a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yes, it's a JoJo's, and that is what really soured me on this chapter. I was really digging it up until that point. I'm just like, really? Now, is it because he's a merger of Shigaraki and All for One, or is it because his real name is technically Tenko Shimura?
It could be both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Because, he pretty much goes with Shigaraki right now, so I would argue that that's his real name at this point.
Right. Either way you slice this person in front of her is clearly Tomura Shigaraki. And yeah, his birth name was Tenko Shimura, but that shouldn't matter. If she said the same thing to, for example, All Might, would it not work because his name's not All Might? His name is Toshinori. You know?
Yeah.
Like, where do you draw the line there?
Plus, he hasn't taken the entire control over him, so it should be Shigaraki still. It's not like he has 100% control.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Which is why that part confuses the living shit out of me.
Maybe it'll make sense next chapter. Just like how her and All Might's relationship made sense after reading this chapter. That brings us to a point, because you were mentioning you don't want her to get fridged. I feel like she can't feasibly get fridged with how powerful her quirk is. Like, if All for One steals this quirk, it's game over. Like, there's nothing Izuku or anybody else out there can do. So that brings me to the next talking point here. What happens with New Order? Because we've already established again that this quirk is probably more powerful than One for All and All for One. But if All for One gets his hands on it, the show's over. Deku can't stop them. Also, side note, I think it's incredibly funny how Japan's number one hero, his quirk is just flames compared to America's number one hero, which is reality bending. It made Endeavor look really pathetic as a number one hero. I'm going to be real.
Yeah. That I can agree with. That I can completely agree with.
It just kind of changes the entire universe. Like, All Might was on a completely different level than everybody else. I get it. But then you have Star and Stripe, and it's like Endeavor really thought Shoto's combination of ice and fire would compete with All Might and Star and Stripe. Get out of here. Just get out of here.
Yeah. Maybe he isn't unaware of her. I don't know.
I feel like he'd be aware of America's number one. That's just me. But
I mean, we haven't been introduced to the other country's strongest hero until now. So
yeah, but you see, the thing is, we're getting it as Hori's presenting it. In universe, they know who she is.
Yeah,
so it's just really funny in hindsight.
True.
That's why I'm saying it's like the Sharingan in Naruto. When we first see Kakashi using it, he's just the copy ninja. But by the end of the series, come on, Sasuke's a god.
That's an understatement. That's a complete understatement in my book.
Right. But getting us back on topic here, what happens with New Order? because, like I've been saying, if All For One gets that quirk, it's game over. So, but on the flip side, if she joins the heroes and she's now Deku's ally, I feel like the game is equally over with her and a full powered Izuku. So, like, I feel like she's too powerful of a character for her quirk to get stolen by the villains or to be an asset to the heroes. So I have no idea what's going to happen with her or her quirk.
Yeah, that's he honestly, I dare argue that he has put himself in a Stephen King scenario almost.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Because unless the only I hate saying this, but the only way that it would make sense not being game over if for some reason she dies but they fail taking her ability. But that would you get what what I mean with this.
That's still a sense of fridging the number one hero.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. I'm not saying that it is. I don't say that it isn't fridging, but I don't see how you can not do a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in terms of not having it being game over for X side, depending on the factor of its pipeline.
Yeah, the only thing that would make this, I can feasibly see this working, is the other heroes show up, because she was supposed to meet Best Jeanist, Endeavor, and Hawks. So the only way I can see this working is if Endeavor, Best Jeanist, and Hawks catch up to her and Shigaraki and provide some sort of support, because she's so powerful. I feel like her and Endeavor and Hawks and Best Jeanist would be able to handle Shigaraki fairly well. At least give them time to escape, if not actually beat him.
Yeah,
that's how powerful Star and Stripe is.
Yeah, it's not like she isn't powerful. She is. You know the whole joke argument about can X character defeat Goku? Well, based on that power, she would probably be able to beat him without breaking a sweat.
I know, right? That's what makes this so crazy, is that the power scaling in My Hero Academia has been fairly consistent. All Might was the bar. Now. Yeah, All Might was the bar, and everybody was either comparable or right under his power level. Here, it's just like, what other crazy quirks have we not seen? Because we had no idea Star and Stripe existed until like 2 weeks ago. And she's the most powerful character in the series, and I can't see anybody being close to her. Shigaraki is only alive because of a technicality. That's what's happening here.
Without a doubt. And it would just be, I hate saying this, but him surviving it just feels like a major plot armor.
It is without a doubt plot armor. And that's unfortunate, because we kind of called that before the fight started. Before we even knew what her quirk was, we assumed that Shigaraki was she was basically going to be a jobber for Tomura. And it's kind of being set up that way, but I'm hoping Hori has a twist or a surprise here, because we don't want another Lady Nagant situation. And again, Lady Nagant's still alive. He could still do some really cool stuff with her. But for all intents and purposes, she's been fridged.
Yeah, I still cross the fingers that she will interact with All Might in some fashion, because it would be interesting to see them interact. Maybe he visits her in the hospital or something.
That'd be awesome, but at the rate the story's going, the pace we're going, it doesn't seem like anybody has time for that. Like Deku got one night's sleep and it's back to it.
Yeah, true, but that doesn't mean it can't be something I wish would happen.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Maybe they can do that in the anime as a proper filler episode.
Who would have thought after that beach episode in season 5 that we'd be clamoring for filler episodes in season 6 and 7?
That actually makes sense.
It's so funny.
Yes, people. I still don't. I can't stand that episode.
It could have been worse. It's no Avatar: The Last Airbender's beach episode. That's peak beach episode.
Honestly, I can't even remember any beach episode from that series, but I take your word for it.
Yeah, peak beach. Isaac, I've got everything I've had to say on chapter 330. 331 is going to be out next week. We'll cover that when it comes out. Was there any other thoughts you had for this chapter?
Please don't fridge her. That's all I'm gonna say.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. So guys, Isaac and I, once we're done recording this one, are going to be talking My Hero Vigilantes. So make sure you check that episode out. Was there anything else you and Brandon have coming out on the channel, Isaac?
We are gonna we are gonna talk. You're gonna be with us, right, with My Hero Academia movie, and
yes, My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission comes out October 29th, 2021. Just about worldwide. I'm sure there's a few areas where it won't be up on that date.
And I managed to get access to it legally on that day. Eureka!
Yeah, dreams do become reality, right? That's what Deku said in episode 1.
We are going, and there is some more cooking when it comes to My Hero Academia that I can't speak on because we don't have a specific date on, but look forward to that. And later in November, due to we don't have all the episode, Rob Moira is gonna join us for one episode talking about the Fina Pirate Princess, which he has the voice role of the male lead in the English dub. So since we know the guy, we wanted to take another approach and speak with him about this whole story and this journey and all that jazz.
It's always fun talking with Rob, so that's going to be a fantastic conversation, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've got a lot of stuff cooking up over here on the Amateur Otaku Podcast. We're going to be back with My Hero Academia Vigilantes Chapter 1 coming up next. You guys will probably get that in a day or so. Also, be back for next week's chapter review of My Hero 331. You can find me at Novice Cinephile on YouTube and Twitter. I'm going to be covering still Fooly Cooly until I finish the series. Also writing for Collider.com. I'm currently writing about My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission, so stay tuned for that at Collider.com or again on my Twitter at Novice Cinephile. You can find Brandon at the Scarlet Fan 52, of course, here at the Amateur Otaku Podcast. Leo Rydell, our other co-host, at Leo_Rydell, and on Geekly Goods on YouTube and Twitter. Isaac's Emblemaniac. He's writing for WebamEntertainment.com, as well as doing things every week here for Amateur Otaku. We will catch you guys next time. As always, go beyond. Plus ultra.